Summer heat is killing your strawberry harvest. Just giving it to you straight. Just a few weeks ago, you were picking bowls and bowls of strawberries left and right, but now, almost nothing. Your plants might still look perfectly healthy, but underneath the surface, they are already shutting down. Today, I'll show you exactly what's happening and why, and the simple fixes to bring your harvest back. So first off, why were you harvesting bowls and bowls of strawberries just a few weeks ago, and now you're barely finding anything enough to pick? One of the biggest misconceptions about strawberries is that they love the summer heat. Not even close. In fact, once temperatures start getting up into the mid-80s and above, strawberries start making fewer flowers and fewer berries. Now the harvest basket is looking a whole lot different. Now here's one of the biggest clues. You're not seeing near as many flowers as you were just a few weeks ago. When temperatures start getting up into the mid-80s and above, strawberries start putting more energy into just getting through the heat and surviving, and less energy into flowers and berries. And since every strawberry starts as a flower, fewer flowers mean fewer berries coming on later. Or maybe you're still getting berries, but they're just a lot smaller than they were a few weeks ago. Now, before you panic about berry size, keep in mind there are different strawberry types. June-bearing strawberries are larger berries and naturally slow down once they produce their main crop in early summer. While ever-bearing strawberries keep on going through the summer, but often are smaller berries. But regardless of which type you're growing, when it's this hot, your plants are in survival mode, which means the berries are the first thing to get smaller. Now, if the heat continues, the strawberry plants might also start showing signs of stress too, like wilting or scorched leaves. But before that happens, the harvest usually starts getting smaller. However, I've got good news for you. Now that you know what's causing it, there are several things you can do right now to turn it around. Now, heat affects all strawberries, but if you're growing in containers, towers, grow bags, or hanging baskets, summer heat can hit even harder. And it all comes down to what's happening below the soil. Strawberries have very shallow roots. In a raised bed, these roots have a lot more soil around them to help hold moisture and buffer temperature swings. But in a container or a tower, that soil heats up much faster and dries out much faster. And once temperatures climb into the mid-80s and above, those roots feel it before you see it in the plant. If those roots start overheating and drying out, that's when those harvest bowls start looking pretty sad. So if you want strawberries all summer long, you've got to protect the roots. And here's exactly what I do. First, I add mulch, just 1 or 2 inches of straw or shredded leaves around the plants. That helps keep the soil cooler and slows down how fast it dries out and how fast the roots dry out. And it's very important to keep it pulled back from the crown. Don't cover the crown, because the crown is where all the new growth forms. Covering the crown will slow the plant down. And who wants that? Next is shade cloth. And I know I say this a lot, but this is the biggest game changer for me. Once temperatures start consistently hitting the mid-80s and above, I put shade cloth over my containers. And I found shade cloth can make a dramatic difference in summer. On a 90-degree day, it can feel 10 to 15 degrees cooler under the shade cloth, but it still allows some of the sunlight to get through. And that alone can be the difference between strawberries keeping up with production or shutting down in the heat. Now, shade cloth comes in different percentages, so which one should you use? Here's my quick rule of thumb. For temperatures in the mid-80s to the 90s, I use about a 30% shade cloth. But when we're in the 90s for several days, I move to a 50%, sometimes even a 60% shade cloth to block out more of the sun's rays. And don't overthink it. I just drape it over the containers or towers and prop it up with a stick so there's a few inches of space for airflow, so I'm not trapping the hot air right against the leaves. Clip it into place, then remove it once the temperatures drop under 85. Now, a question I get a lot is whether black shade cloth heats up plants more than lighter colors. I've used both black and lighter colors, and honestly, I haven't seen a huge difference between either of them in my garden. Now, if you're gardening somewhere with extreme heat, like Texas or Florida, where it's very humid and it can get over triple digits, your experience might be different. Just try it out and do what works best for you, and don't confuse the issue. Getting the right shade percentage so you have good coverage of your plants matters a whole lot more than the color. One more thing I look at is where the containers are sitting. Now you can see it's super hot and bright and sunny out here today. And if your containers are sitting next to concrete or block walls like mine are here, or on a hot driveway, they're basically baking from every direction. So if you can, move them where they still get morning sun, but a break from that afternoon heat. And then the biggest one, watering. Containers and towers dry out very quickly in hot weather. If your plants are wilting by afternoon, the soil is drying out quickly, or the berries are getting smaller, it's usually time to adjust your watering schedule. That's when I switch from watering once a day to twice a day. And during heat waves, smaller containers and towers may need shorter waterings more often. This is where having a timer really helps a lot. I use a Mr. Landscaper timer, and it makes it easy to add a second watering cycle without having to remember to do it by hand every day. And this is a real lifesaver in the heat. Now, if you're growing in a tower, make sure you check a few different pockets so you're not judging moisture from just one spot. If some pockets are drying out faster than others, increase your watering frequency until the moisture is staying more consistent all throughout the tower. So the heat fix for containers is pretty simple. Keep the roots cooler, keep the moisture consistent. The goal isn't just to keep the plants alive. We want to walk outside, pick a handful of strawberries, eat a few right here in the garden, and still have enough left over for smoothies and all those summer treats that make growing them so much fun. So now you've protected the roots and dialed in the watering. The next step is keeping those flowers coming. Remember, no flowers, no berries. Now, as I mentioned earlier, different strawberry types produce at different times of the year. So if you're seeing fewer flowers, part of that may simply be the type of strawberry you're growing. Here's the mistake I see a lot of gardeners making though. The flowers are still coming, so they assume everything is fine and don't bother fertilizing. But that's exactly when the plants still need feeding. And in containers and towers, you usually need to feed more often because there's only a small amount of soil and nutrients and it gets used up quickly. I typically feed every 1 to 2 weeks in containers and towers. In raised beds, I can usually stretch that to every 2 to 3 weeks because there's a lot more soil holding in the nutrients and moisture. So the big question is, what should you feed them? One fertilizer I've had really good success with is Monterey Fish and Grow. And I know some gardeners look at the nitrogen number and think it's way too high for strawberries. And with some fertilizers, that can absolutely be a big problem. But one thing I do like about Fish and Grow is that the nitrogen becomes available gradually over time instead of all at once, which is one of the reasons why I've had such great success with it. So you're not getting a plant that suddenly wants to put all of its energy into growing leaves. Even better, it contains phosphorus to help them pump out the flowers and fruit, and potassium to keep the plants strong and healthy while they're producing. Think of it like this. During the heat of the summer, your strawberries are already under stress. And the last thing you want is for them to run short on nutrients, adding even more stress. Because once the flowers slow down, a few weeks later, there's not much left to pick. Even if you're doing all that right, there may be one more thing stealing your harvest. And when you're only getting a handful of berries, even losing 1 or 2 really hurts. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of strawberry loss happens right at the soil level, where it's easy to miss. You wait for that berry to turn the perfect shade of red, and you head out to pick it, flip it over, and there's a hole in it. It's so frustrating. A chew mark here. Or one of my personal favorites, they take one bite and leave the rest sitting there. If you've ever had that happen, you know how maddening it is. You wait all that time for the berry to ripen and you're excited to finally pick it. And then something beats you to it. Now what I do when this happens is I look around the base of the plants and check for slugs, snails, earwigs, pill bugs, and other pests that like to feed at the soil level. The ground chewers. When I start seeing that kind of damage, I sprinkle some Sluggo Plus around the plants. It's been a huge game changer to save my strawberries. It's an organic bait for the ground chewers. Now you're not going to walk outside and see piles of dead roly-polies and snails, but what you will notice is less damage and fewer berries disappearing. Don't forget about larger critters either. There's nothing more frustrating than walking outside excited to pick strawberries and finding a bird pecked a hole in it, or a rat took one bite out of your best berry. It's happened to me more times than I can count. So a simple tool or lightweight netting can make a huge difference. Just drape it over your strawberries and secure it around the edges with bricks or clips so critters can't sneak underneath. These simple steps can save a whole lot of frustration and help more of those sweet strawberries end up on your plate instead of becoming dinner for something else.
I want to tell you all about a little get-together we're going to have down in San Diego to meet all of you. We are going to get together on Shelter Island for a 2-hour meet and greet a chance to take pictures with you and meet you and get to know you.
Yeah, we are super excited about it. It is going to be on Sunday, June 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. All the information will be in the video description. It's a beautiful spot right on San Diego Bay. And the cool thing is, we're going to have a special guest there as well. We are having Brian from Next Level Gardening there with us. I know a lot of you watch his garden videos as well. So come on down if you're anywhere in the San Diego or Southern California area. We cannot wait to meet you.
Yep, and if you have Kim's books, bring them down. She'll sign them as well, take some pictures with you, and also get a chance to meet other gardeners, for example, from Next Level Gardening's subscribers. It'll be a really good time.
That's right. And if you also have Brian's book, I know he's got a book out too. Make sure you bring it down, and we're going to sign it there. And really looking forward to the afternoon. I think it's going to be a really great time. We can't wait.
We'll see you there.
See you there. If this helped you save your strawberries, subscribe and hit that like button. Now it's your turn. What's been the biggest challenge with your strawberries this summer? Drop a comment below with your questions. I'd love to help. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time in the garden.